Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon session of Social Finance Vibes. This session will be about measuring and assessing the social impact in microfinance and for microfinance institutions. I will moderate this event. My name is Jacopo. I work for the Council of Europe Development Bank, and I am in charge of the implementation of the InvestEU Advisory Hub, which you might have learned about a bit this morning as my colleague Juliana, if you participated, presented. And here I am to moderate this event, and I will first inform you of the housekeeping rules, let's say, and then I will introduce the speakers and we can dive into the topic. So I will remind you that participants can ask questions or write comments in the chat box during the whole session, and they can also ask questions during the Q&A time. For that, you will need to raise your hand so that we can unmute your mics and you can speak. And in the resources section of this webinar, you can find interesting resources indeed related to the topics that we are going to discuss. So, with no further ado, I will introduce the speakers. We have Mr. Davide Castellani, an academic with and development finance expert from Italy. Is also a senior consultant with several years of experience in various areas of finance, financial health, social impact measurement, functioning of microfinance institutions, and he co-leads the European Microfinance platform from research to practice and back again, and the action group of the European Microfinance platform. We have Dr. Max Nino Zarazua, an international consultant with decades to in financial inclusion and responsible finance. And he also co-leads the action group from research to practice on the European Microfinance platform, and they will present the first let's say, item of this webinar, Social Impact Measurement Toolkit. We will mention more about that later. We have with us Mr. Linas Armalis, CEO of Novity Finance, one of the most active non-bank financial institutions with headquarters in Lithuania, and who's also a beneficiary of the InvestEU Advisory Hub and the CEB. So we're working together. We are working together on some social impact measurement. And last but not least, Mr. Perlat Sulaj, the CEO of FedInvest, Saving and Credit Association in Albania. So welcome and thank you for being here. So the topic we're talking about today is particularly important for us, for the CEB, but in general for the microfinance world, which is impact measurement. As we know, microfinance serves a huge sector in the European economy, the one of micro enterprises, and it's the impact of what microfinance providers do is really at the core of their business on individuals, on communities, and at the same time, it's also a big challenge, the one of measuring the social impact, because sometimes it's difficult, it's costly, it's challenging, and the environment also the environment of microfinance providers is quite fragmented. So this is a huge challenge, but this is crucial to advance on this because impact measurement, I believe it's critical in terms of accountability to channel the resources in the right directions, but also accountability vis-a-vis the investors, the policymakers. Microfinance institutions do an amazing job, and it's also important that this is properly communicated. But impact measurement has also plays also a crucial role on the business of microfinance institutions. We had a chat about that with David during the European Microfinance Network annual conference a couple of weeks ago on how this can help MFIs to improve their business, to sharpen their strategies, and also to create a virtuous circle where you have businesses that are positively impacted, and at the same time they also are ensure better repayment and more financial strength for the institutions. And also the importance, I would like to underline the importance of impact measurement to improve learning and knowledge sharing in such a wide and fragmented environment, sharing best practices and develop key common tools and standards to measure the impact of the MFI's activities. I would like finally to mention the key role that microfinance and impact measurement play for the CEB. CEB has been supporting microfinance institutions for over 2 decades. And under the strategic framework 2023-2027, microfinance has become a key sector, a focus sector for us. And we have broadened our support to now around 26 institutions in 17 countries. And in this context, also under InvestEU, both from the fund and the technical assistance perspective, microfinance is at the core of CEB's activities, and I'm talking about the advisory hub now because it's a bit more my business, and there we support several institutions in improving their social impact reporting for the reasons I just mentioned. And this is a nice segue into the first presentation where David and Max will present this social impact measurement toolkit, which has been funded through the InvestEU Advisory Hub. We're very proud of that, and I will leave the floor to them to go more into the details of the project. Thank you very much. And so, Davide, Max, the floor is yours.
So thank you very much, Jacopo. So it's a pleasure to be here with you, even if it's in a remote way, let's say. So let me give you again a little bit of context. So, for example, this morning, Mr. Mario Nava once again emphasized the importance for the sector to demonstrate its social impact. The toolkit aligns with this goal by seeking to address key questions such as what social impact means in the context of European microfinance, why should we measure it, and how to measure it. Demonstrating impact goes beyond simple reporting, as you mentioned, and the toolkit seeks to do so by offering insights on how measuring impact can also have strategic implications. And so the overall objective was to make social impact measurement in the European context more accessible and also actionable. Especially, in the European context where microfinance providers, they differ very much in terms of business model, size, capacity, and also social orientation, right? We followed an approach that is shaped in the needs and realities of the field. We have built the toolkit. We started by reviewing a huge amount of documents about best practices from both academia and practitioners. Especially we look at how development finance institutions they measure impact, how how also microfinance they do that, microfinance institutions they do that. We then also conducted a series of interviews with standard setters, with rating agencies, with microfinance institutions, with experts, not only from Europe, but from also from other countries. We also had a nice interview with the CGAP, for example, and also with policymakers. And So the idea was to have a toolkit that was practical, modular, and realistic, and that was able to address, the constraints that microfinance providers in Europe they face. In order to make this, speech more engaging, we have prepared a couple of questions for the attendees. And the first question is about what are the main challenges that microfinance providers in Europe they face. Um, so, okay. So I invite the attendees to choose one or more options. Okay. Anyone else who wants to express his or her preference? No? Okay. So good. So these are the results. So lack of data collection tools. Then we have lack of standardized measurement tools, lack of financial resources, and then lack of expertise. And then, yeah, the other challenges, they're also quite prevalent, but they are not so prevalent as the other one. So, yeah, I mean, it's very much aligned with what we have found out. So, lack of data collection tools and lack of standardized measurement tools. Okay. The next question we have is about what might be the solutions to address some of these obstacles. Or this is more intended for the institution themselves, but anyone can, answer. So what support would help your institution or the microfinance sector in Europe improve its impact measurement? Okay. Okay. One more. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the standardized impact measurement, no. Yeah, standardized impact measurement tools. That's very good. And then training for staff. So a second. And it's very true because, I mean, there is also a need to, help support microfinance institutions in developing their own internal measurement systems, funding for data collection, data management, that is very costly. I agree with that. Peer learning from other microfinance institutions is also critical to create a community of practice and to exchange best practices. And then the last one is better technology for impact tracking. That is probably the next step, but the lack of expertise, the lack of tools is probably are probably the most prominent solutions that microfinance institution they are looking for. Okay, thank you very much for participating in our short survey, and So how do I close this? Okay, great. So let me just give you, I will take just 30 seconds, then I leave the floor to my colleague Max. So why is this toolkit different from other toolkits? We have not reinvented the wheel. So what we wanted to do is to make the wheel roll smoother, easier. Yeah. So to roll easier. So we tried to keep it simple. We avoided jargon. We designed a clear structure, and then it's consistent from the beginning to the end. It's meant to grow, so we want feedback. It's in a beta version. So the idea is to make it grow, adjust it based on the users' feedback. It's grounded in the realities of in real operational constraints of microfinance institutions. Okay, so I think these are the key characteristics of the tool. So I'm not going to take much more time, and I leave the word to my colleague Max, who has been working with me on developing the toolkit. Thank you.
Thank you, Davide. And good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to share my screen so we can navigate this wonderful tool, and I can show you some of the characteristics. So basically some of the features of the tool. I hope you can see my screen now. I'm sharing. Excellent. Well, we invite you to get access to the tool by scanning this QR code. It's a very easy way to access to the toolkit, and if you have the time and the opportunity doing it in your screen, that will be very, very good. So you can navigate it. But nevertheless, I'm going to show you some of the screens that will come up once you start using the toolkit in your own devices. The toolkit, as Davide explained, is a modular toolkit in which we are proposing and or offering different modules that every microfinance institution should learn about and explore. We recommend that you can go in that sequence from the first to the fifth, because that can give you a very good insight into what the impact assessment means, what tools are available, what are the best practices. And just as a reminder, everything that we put into this toolkit comes from the tools and the methodologies that not only the best practices gave us, but also, and most importantly, it was the feedback we received from practitioners. What I mean is microfinance institutions. So it's not just the standard toolkit that you can find, on internet, but this is a toolkit developed particularly for microfinance institutions in Europe. So as you can see, we have 5 modules, and we start first with framing impact in European microfinance. So that gives you a general context about what impact is about in the context of in Europe. What are the main needs for assessing the impact, and gives you also the context and the history of this toolkit. Then you can have in the second module information about building the basis to measure social impact. And here there are very important tools, very useful tools to start your journey into measuring impact from the basis of that. For example, it gives you the different tools to build your theory of change, how you can build it in the most practical way, also how you can move from a theory of change to something which is more measurable, like a log frame, etc. So it walks you through these different tools to build the basis of your measurement system. And then the third module talks about designing a measurement system that provides you with also with with ideas, with practices and tools that are used by different institutions, but also that addresses your capabilities or even structure or resources, and provides different methods in which you can use to make the most of your measurement experience. The fourth module talks about using impact data for accountability and learning. And these are approaches that we emphasize very much, in which data and the information that you collect can serve different purposes. One is for internal learning, can help you to improve products, to improve your services, to identify what aspects are making a greater impact, either positive or negative. Also gives you the information to build the story behind the indicators, right? Which is very important for microfinance institutions, especially when they are in, communicating, or they have relationship with external organizations, either donors, the general public, or other stakeholders. That this information can provide you with the narratives or the stories behind those indicators. But also another purpose of this is accountability, right? And a lot of the institutions in Europe that are supporting microfinance institutions, like the CEB or other donors or other institutions, also they need information, and they need more granular information behind the indicators. And I think this is a very good way to improve that relationship with those external stakeholders and improve your accountability, and not just report indicators that are part of an agreement, a contract that you have with those institutions, but also explains how your institution are doing, and also leading to change on the beneficiaries. And finally, we have the fifth module, which talks about innovative tools that now they're appearing in this space, which is also a good way for you to explore. So here we can have some examples of the information you will have. These are the different screens that you will receive when you click in the arrows, and you can start developing all this experience by having something more from conceptual to more practical. And you have here a lot of information that comes from the institutions that we are sure you have a relationship with. It's very important also, when you are doing or collecting your data, we are proposing to map the information, in order to identify what sources of data you need to collect, what methodologies you need to use, and in that way, how you can develop those narratives step by step. So we provide also access to different methods like focus groups, interviews, surveys, and different methods that can also adjust to your own needs and also capabilities within your organization. And then also we provide some methods of analyzing this data. And this is very important because, as I explained earlier, then you can construct the stories behind the indicators and use different ways to provide that information, either if you want to develop an infographic, a report, or just to show your information in your websites. So this is a very comprehensive way to analyze the data through different tools. And each of the screens you will see that have different links and arrows that you can click on, and then you will see more examples, you will see more information, some case studies, or further information that can give you some of the context. And also, examples are always important, so you can identify your case with the case of other institutions that have performed that. And all those examples come from the institutions in Europe. So from all the information we got from the microfinance institutions in Europe, we added those examples in the toolkit, so you can feel like you are familiar to those cases, and it's nothing that you feel like is a very different situation. For example, what Africa or Latin America or Asia are doing in terms of microfinance or the type of challenges or clients that are serving, but we wanted to focus very much into the European case. So in a nutshell, this is a very broad example of what you're going to find in the toolkit. We invite you to navigate the toolkit, use it, and of course, we will always be open to clarify any question or any suggestion. David is going to be leading, the next stage of this, where we want to make the toolkit more powerful, more interactive, and also have a community in Europe that uses the toolkit and start sharing the experience as well, which will be very positive for the learning process. So here is also the address online if you haven't been able to scan the QR code. And well, we wish you the best of luck in the use of this toolkit, and we hope that you really use it and enjoy it. So back to you, Davide, or Jacopo. So that's everything from my side. Thank you.
And then, Davide, if you have anything to add, otherwise some more things we can take up during the Q&A session if there are some questions from the audience. I would move now to the second item in the list and leave the word to the floor to Linus to present the social dividend measurement concept. So please, Linus, present your approach and also share your reflections on what you have learned also throughout the process of impact measurement and in your institution, and also the benefits that you've seen throughout the process.
Yes, thank you very much, Jacopo. Thank you very much for Microfinance Center for having me. So thank you for CEB for financing this particular project of metrics, which is a part of today's topic. So for us, it is very much important one, and I think in principle, while looking in the upcoming years, it will become very much important for very many organizations. But let me first of all start maybe from the illustration how we see that project and what things we plan to measure, and what is currently ongoing. So basically, we finalized like preparational phase, and we're currently in IT implementation phase with this particular one. And in principle, it is based on very much in line with what David and Max presented. It is based on this theory of change methodology, which is actually splitting all the measurement into 5 big groups. So it is into activities, outputs, intermediate outcomes, and impact. So it is bottom-up approach, and basically it works in this way. So when we talk about activities, the simplest, the general, the bottom line is to measure number of loans disbursed, which all of us do. That's our daily business. Number of entrepreneurs trained if we do business development services, and number of additional services provided, like in our case, it is monitoring services, which we plan to present to our customers, that they would be managing risk in a better way. Now, if to go up, then we are entering more and more sophisticated parts, which are exactly about the impact. So then we look more particular, okay, we know how much we sell, but then the question is like, what is the percentage of women-owned businesses which we finance, then the percentage of startup businesses which we funded, percentage of youth and elderly clients. By the way, very frequently it is focused on youth, but not so frequent on elderly. I think it's very important category, elderly clients. If you are, let's say 55, 60 years old, and unfortunately company where you are working has been closed, it's very difficult to find a job. For those people, it should be easy to start businesses, to become entrepreneurs. They have experience, they lack finances. So we look how we can support them. And then educational attainments of clients. Moving up, we have already some kind of outcomes of the financing which is provided. So first of all, capital expenses carried out with microfinancing. So how much of new equipment is bought? Maybe this financing helped, for company to improve its equipment, to buy some tools which will allow it to work more effectively. And then we go up, we go to direct outcomes, so growth of sales, growth of profit of those companies, dynamic of employees, which we have, dynamic of taxes paid, jobs created, jobs maintained. And the top of the top, the cherry on the cake, or the kind of, maybe the better way to say it, the final outcome is exactly to measure the impact, which is very clear indication for both our company, both whatever stakeholders, institutional investors, European institutions. Okay, what is the effect of each euro of microfinance provided to micro SME in terms of revenue growth, in terms of job created, and in terms of tax paid? Now, so basically that's the thing. So as you see, from bottom we go up, and that's what we have. And each parameter is kind of supplementing the other one. And then we might see, okay, where is the bottleneck maybe, that we have like good sales, and maybe we have, a lot of startups, a lot of women, but somehow we do not have implications on job created or on the financial results of the company. We might have different scenarios than in different kind of situations, but it will allow us to understand our customers in a better way, to redirect financing in a better way. So that is basically the approach which we are following. And additionally, what I would like also to mention, so why it is important, why we so much speak about that, is I kind of try to close my presentation in order to bother you. Yeah. So with the same slide. So I think that, while looking forward, we have very challenging times ahead, in my opinion. I think that the accumulated problems which we have in Europe, the artificial intelligence, coming into businesses, which will allow to, on one hand, automate a lot of duties which we do, a lot of functions which companies are performing, will allow, on one hand, to become, for some employees, to become more effective, but it will also squeeze the necessity of people to be hired. And I think that the social pressure will be bigger and bigger on both financial companies, on governmental agencies, both national, both European ones, to facilitate entrepreneurship, for people who cannot find a job due to different reasons, to really be able to create that job for themselves, for smaller businesses to really automate in order that they would be able to be more effective in those times which are coming. So I would believe that the financial instruments will be there. I think that in principle, Europe is there, the European institutions, national institutions, with all the financial efforts are for a long here. And that we heard, today during conference also some feedback from European institutions that, it's as always, financial instruments are limited and etc. But most probably they will be there. Now the other question will be where it should be redirected. Where it should be redirected, where is the best direction, the best way to use those money. Lots of you, I hope, colleagues are working also with micro businesses, with smallest companies, and those are usually kind of forgotten. That's a segment with which has the least focus from national agencies, from traditional banks. In order to redirect those resources, we really should show impact. There will be competition for those resources, and there will be a demand to really show the implication and then to use those money in the best way. So I would say that challenging times are ahead, and I think that the earlier we will start and our organizations will start to measure those implications, the more we will have stronger arguments in the upcoming years, not far away, 1, 2, 3 years, to really ensure that our customers, our societies, communities have the best financial instruments, the best European support, the best, financial support in those transition times which were ahead. And that's what I see, and that's how we redirect our organization. And that's why we are very glad that we can be some kind of, a small pioneers, while really trying to do it in an automated way. By the way, a small comment, the very good implication which is happening in all countries in parallel, it also from whatever countries you would be. The more and more of data is becoming open. More and more of data is becoming publicly available, which means that the less we should rely on questionnaires to customer, and the more we might rely on APIs, building the pipeline, with social, social registry centers, social tax inspection, and by getting exactly my mentioned implications, how much taxes are paid, how many employees are working, and etc. That simplifies the job. We should have reliable data, less, not costly process, and this open data is very much about that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Linas, for the presentation and for sharing your thoughts on this. I would then proceed to the last presentation from Perlet. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Jacopo. Thanks also to MFC team that has prepared and made the Social Finance Vibe conference and sessions. And I do believe that social impacts are a very important topic in the sector we are operating. FedInvest is the largest microfinance, let's say, financial cooperative in Albania. We are licensed by Bank of Albania to provide financial services that include loans, deposits, and payments. And we're doing this throughout our country. We have more than 300 staff that are working on 54 branches covering the whole country. We have around about 100,000 members, so we are a member-based organization. And we are not for profit, so we are licensed by the Bank of Albania as a credit and savings association. So our social goals are very important, and we have a social motto that says always social finance. So I'd like to just have a quick, let's say, view on FedInvest and what FedInvest represents in our country. So we currently have more than 99,000. Do you see it? Okay. So we have more than 99,000 members, close to 100,000. We have 54 branches that are operating throughout the country. We have total assets of about 100 million now. We have a loan portfolio of 73 million euro, which has a yield of 14.2%, and a deposit loan portfolio of 2.58 million euro, which has a yield of 2.7%. So these are, let's say, some of the key indicators of our activity. And how do we measure our social impact? We do that through three main areas, which include the human dimensions, geographic dimensions, and gender dimensions. So we do measure impact on human dimensions in relation to the access in finance for underserved and neglected individuals in countries from the banking sector. We do track the outreach of financial education, expertise and consulting, networking and promotion. We do also see, the impact that these services have on the employment, startups that get financing, and returned immigrants as entrepreneurs. So now more and more immigrants are returning to Albania and building their own businesses. So that's also a very important indicator to track. In terms of geographic dimensions, we do follow on the coverage of rural and remote and mountainous areas with services we provide. We do have a wide range of financial and non-financial services, and we track which services are being absorbed or received in certain areas. So that's also something that helps us in our overall strategy to address the needs of our members and customers. And we also have a very good equilibrium in terms of distance of our offices from the members and customers, because at the end of the day, regardless of a lot of efforts that has been done in terms of digitalization, many of our customers still, are very traditional, are rural customers. So they like to come to office and to get the service in the office and to get, also consulting and expertise, in the office, and sometimes in the training and workshop seminars. The other dimension we following our indicators are gender dimensions. So we do follow the participation of women as members and customers. Participation of women in decision making. We do that, within the organization and also in our customer and member base. As I mentioned before, we are a member-based organization, so we have elected people throughout our country, that represent the whole membership and are part of the General Assembly where the decisions are taken. And we do also provide dedicated products for women, and we follow the performance of such products. So that's in terms of financial, let's say, service impact and outreach. In addition to that, we do provide also a wide range of non-financial services through ABBA Center and ABBA Center platform. So we initiated this the building and setup of ABBA Center and launching it a few years ago, because we really felt the need of our customers and members, and by understanding very well their social and economic profile, it came true that our customers, they don't need only financial services, but they need also non-financial services. So in this respect, through ABBA Center and through ABBA platform and the social media of this ABBA Center, we do provide a lot of share of knowledge and expertise. We do promote successful stories and networking. We do provide demonstrations, for certain activities in the agriculture sector, particularly. We have a service of expertise, asking expert, almost online all the day, every day. So these are some of the services that are provided by ABBA, and we do track, a number of people that are registering in the ABBA platform, number of people that are taking, and participating in the farm demonstrations, number of people that are getting, notifications by activities that ABBA is performing, number of people that are receiving the ABBA magazine that is sent on a periodical basis, on a monthly basis. We do provide also a success story on a monthly basis, to the members of the ABBA Center and platform, and we distribute that also through the social media. So we promote in a way, not only the customer, but we promote the synergy that is created between customer, FedInvest, and ABBA Center. So these are some of the, let's say, areas that we are working on the non-financial services. And if we summarize this in terms of, what indicators are we tracking, based on financial services we offer and also financial education, non-financial services. Now, there are some of them that are directly impactful. There are some indicators that show the impact. There are some indicators that show the, let's say, the activities and the outreach, that we get throughout the activities we perform. So we, in this respect, we follow the number of rural customers, number of women customers, number of startups, number of jobs created, number of young customers that are less than 35 years old, number of rural customers open a current account. This is a very important, let's say, indicator, for example, because in rural areas in Albania, less than 40% of adult people have a bank account. So there is still a large need, a great need for banking services in the rural area. So many people don't have yet a bank account. On the non-financial services side, we follow the number of people that receive financial education training, and a lot of this also we follow who visits ABA and financial education materials. We have several projects with our let's say partners in terms of building capacities to our members. So in these projects, we perform trainings, we perform workshops. We also provide expertise. So we follow the number of people that participate in those activities. As I mentioned before, we follow the number of people registered in the ABA platform and those that also receive ABA magazine on a periodical basis. Also, the number of people that are visiting ABA platform and the social media network of the ABA Center. So we are tracking that, for example, and we have more than 1.1 million visitors, for the ABA content materials and other promotions that we drive through ABA platform. For the years, FedInvest is a very experienced organization, and we continue to have social indicators, social impact indicators, as part of our activity. As I mentioned, we are a social mission-based organization, and we have learned a lot, over these years. So first of all, by understanding by understanding well the profile, social profile, and economic profile of our customers, we cannot get good strategy. So, strategy is based on this member-centric approach we have, and we see the customer in all directions. And social impact is a very important aspect, considering also that we are a member-based organization and we have a social mission. Quantifiable social goals help us also to build and strengthen our image, because we are able to show that to our donors, to our regulators, to our members, to other stakeholders, and really showcase what FedInvest is doing in this respect. Leveraging donor funding and attracting like-minded partners is something that we've experienced all over the years. We have 4 projects currently that are running in this direction, because we found common goals and objectives with our partners, donors, that are ready, willing and interested to invest in building capacities of our members, and at the end of the day, making a difference in their social life. Better decision making also, social indicators help to develop products, financial and non-financial services. So that's very important. We all know that. So and of course it is expensive. It's also time consuming. With the technology, this will become less and less burden. And I think it's all it takes now. It's really to make sure we have legally following and keeping the track and the data track of the data of our members and customers on the social side. And this will help not only us to build better strategies and products, but it will help us to create good partnerships, strengthen our image, and get more projects with donors and other stakeholders. So those are some of the areas I wanted to mention. Thank you, and open for any question.
Thank you very much, Per. That was also very, very interesting. And now I would like to open a Q&A session, so we can now leave the floor to any of the participants who want to speak. Let me also check if there are questions in the chat that have not been answered already. Otherwise, please, I encourage the participants who want to ask questions to raise their hands so that we can mute their microphones and they can speak. I see that Max and David already answered to the questions in the chat. So, well,
maybe meanwhile, while maybe some questions will be coming, I will just would like to add up that surely when we look at those metrics, it appears that we still cannot fully rely on automation. So there are still some particular aspects, like, for example, the gender of employees, or some other particular questions where it's the only exact way to get the data is to ask customer. However, there are those touch points with customer where we, when either the customers needs from us or either we motivate them that they would be submitting that data to us by really filling some short surveys in their self-service. So from that perspective, we really looking towards that. In principle, 80% of the data, especially financial data, tax data, total employee, trends, those would be collected fully without involvement of customer, while some soft factors, which we just cannot get, roughly speaking, 20%, would be collected through some simple questionnaire, which while using those touch points with customer, which we have time to time, due to either the fact that customer needs some particular documentation from us, or we talk about loan prolongation, or we have some other background. So basically that's the direction, and it is very much about volume. We need actually to show volumes. Too frequently, maybe it's good, frequently we hear about field visits, which are very precise, very nice, very illustrative, but they are, they are one time to time, and everything when we talk about the future is very much about volumes, about showing that implication on scale, on the all portfolio basis. In order to have all portfolio basis, field visits would be not enough, and that's why this particular direction of implementation of metrics is required. Even if when we talk about the existing businesses, for many of those, it still looks like checking a box, because partners are requiring it. But more and more it will have this tangible application, that particular data. So yeah, that's basically the case.
Thank you, Linus. And since you reopened the discussion, while we wait for participants who wants to ask questions, I would like to briefly leave the floor to each one of you for a final comment, or something you would like to stress, as Linus just did, to take a takeaway for this discussion. So I see perhaps start with David. Yeah.
If I can just add something about the toolkit. So I'm glad that Linus raised this point, because we actually stress very much in the toolkit that we need to start from mapping what we already have. So what are the touch points with the clients? How can we improve data collection through those touch points? And not jumping, immediately into a survey or client interviews, right? So they should be complementing tools that allow to delve more into something. For example, explaining how, the change took place, right? So you might have some interviews with clients, or clients that had bad experiences, right? Because you might have, usually what you look at the average, but if you look at, the distribution of the impact you have, right? You might have, some clients with some specific characteristics that they have not experienced the same impact as others. And so you might want to know why, right? Yeah, we stress that very much. And one just very last message. social impact is not only important for reporting, for learning, but there is a strong relationship between the impact that we generate and the social performance of the financial service providers. This is not yet still understood even in the traditional banking system. So banks, they tend to report, about, I don't know, the schools that they have, contributed to build, or the communities that they help. But most of the impact comes out from the financial service that you provide, and that's extremely important to understand. Probably there will be a shift in the future because when we talk about ESG, the S, right? So we focus on social projects in general, but what's your impact, right? As an institution, your core business, what's the impact that you generate? So that question has not yet been addressed. And I think that in the microfinance sector, we are moving much more forward than the traditional financial sector. And that's it from my side. The last.
Yeah, I would like to complement also, if I may, and invite microfinance institutions in Europe, for those who this is going to be the beginning of a measurement journey, to do it and try it out and try to exploit the data that you have available in your institutions and produce information for your interest, but also for the interest of the external stakeholders, and also explore other ways to deep more in depth about the changes you are doing, because it's good to produce data of outreach. Always everyone would like to know what is the outreach of microfinance institutions is achieving, but also it's important to say what change the microfinance institutions are achieving with their clients and beneficiaries. And then probably you will need to make additional effort to understand what the clients are saying and let the clients to speak by themselves about those changes. And then you can report those changes and also inform the community the good programs or interventions you are doing. And also you will enjoy that by getting probably better support from institutions who are interested in microfinance institutions making change. So I think it's all a win-win relationship, and the center of that relationship is using the data you have from your clients. So use the toolkit and you will find probably a very good experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Max. Perlat, some final remark?
I'd like to thank David and Max for taking the initiative and building this toolkit. I'm sure that having a unified approach for measuring the impact on the social side, I think is going to be very important because at the end of the day we may be talking the same language, and it'll be much easier for us, for the stakeholders of our sector, for the donors, and as I said before, for like-minded stakeholders that have an interest on microfinance and social goals. So yeah, I'm really also curious to see how that toolkit is going to develop and be used. So I'll take also a deep look on that. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to all the speakers, but also to all the participants.